let's just rip the Band-Aid off right now. Yes, my mother-in-law showed up to my wedding in a full-blown cathedral train bridal gown. Yes, it was more expensive than mine. And yes, when the music started, she latched onto my husband's arm and tried to walk him down the aisle as if she were the one marrying him. Most brides would cry. Most brides would run away. But I didn't do either. I stopped the music, grabbed the microphone from the terrified officiant, and I absolutely roasted her existence in front of 200 stunned guests before having security drag her out by her sequins. But to understand why I chose violence that day, to understand why I didn't just have a breakdown, you have to understand that this wasn't a one-time mistake. This was the finale of a 3-year war, and it all started with a pair of underwear. I met my husband Dan 3 years ago. He is smart, funny, and incredibly kind. But Dan came with baggage, specifically a 5'2" peroxide blonde piece of baggage named Martha. In the beginning, I thought Martha was just a sweet, over-involved boy mom. You know the type. She called him every day. She brought him Tupperware full of soup. I tried to be the cool girlfriend and brush it off, but the first time I went to their house for Christmas, I saw the dynamic for what it really was. We were opening gifts, and Martha didn't sit in her armchair. She sat on the arm of Dan's chair. Then she slid down, literally, onto his lap. She had her arm around his neck, whispering, "Look what Mommy got her handsome boy." She had bought him underwear. Not a pack of Hanes, silk boxers. She held them up against his waist and said, "I hope these fit your waist. You've been losing weight since you started dating her." She looked dead at me when she said it. I should have run then. I know. But I love Dan, and he was so deep in the fog, fear, obligation, guilt, that he didn't see it. He'd say, "She's just lonely since Dad works all the time. She doesn't mean anything by it." The moving day sabotage.
The first major red flag that this woman was actively trying to destroy us happened when Dan and I decided to move in together. We had the movers scheduled for 9 a.m. At 8:45 a.m., Dan's phone rings. It's Martha. She's screaming. She says she can't breathe. She says her chest feels like it's caving in. Dan, naturally, goes into a panic. He drops everything, leaves me alone with a house full of boxes and 3 confused movers, and rushes to her house. I spent 12 hours moving our entire lives by myself. When Dan finally came home at midnight, he looked exhausted. "Was it a heart attack?" I asked. "No," he sighed. "It was a panic attack. She couldn't find the remote for the ceiling fan, and she got overheated." She kept him there for 12 hours because she lost a remote. But looking back, I know exactly what she was doing. She wanted to taint our first day living together. She wanted to prove she had his attention. The engagement ring incident. A year later, Dan proposed. It was magical. He took me to the beach where we had our first date. The ring was perfect, a vintage cut that I had pinned on Pinterest months ago. We were on cloud 9. 2 days later, we went to Martha's house to share the good news. We walked in, champagne in hand. Martha didn't smile. She stared at my hand like it was covered in mold. "Let me see it," she demanded. I took it off my finger to hand it to her. Big mistake. She held it up to the light, squinting. "It's a bit cloudy, isn't it? Dan, did you get the warranty?" Then she did the unthinkable. She slipped the ring onto her left ring finger. "Oh," she sighed, admiring her own hand. "It actually fits me perfectly. My fingers are so dainty, unlike yours, OP. Yours are a bit sturdy." I held out my hand. "Okay, Martha, can I have it back now?" She pouted. "Just let me wear it for dinner. I want to feel special for a few minutes. My baby is leaving me." She started to tear up. Dan looked at me, pleading with his eyes. "Just let her have this," his eyes said. "No," I said, my voice ice cold. "Take it off. Now." She struggled with it for a second, pretending it was stuck, before yanking it off and throwing it onto the coffee table. It bounced and hit the floor. "Fine," she spat. "You have no sense of humor." The receipt. Fast forward to the wedding planning. It was hell. She tried to change the flowers. She tried to invite her bridge club to the rehearsal dinner. But I held my ground on everything. I thought I was winning. About 2 months before the wedding, I was over at her house helping her set up her iPad. She had left her purse open on the counter and a receipt had fallen out. I went to put it back in, but the total caught my eye. $3,500.
It was from a high-end local bridal salon. My stomach dropped. I pulled the receipt out. It listed a platinum bridal package and a custom alteration rush fee. I confronted her immediately. "Martha, why do you have a receipt for a bridal package? You aren't renewing your vows." She didn't even flinch. She laughed, a high-pitched, nervous titter. "Oh, honey, don't be paranoid. That's just what they call the mother of the groom makeover. I just want to look nice for my baby's big day. I want to match the elegance of the wedding." "For $3,000? I asked. "It includes facials and massages," she insisted. "Don't be jealous that I'm taking care of myself." I wanted to believe her. I really did. I wanted to believe that no woman would be insane enough to spend that kind of money just to upstage her son's wife. I took a photo of the receipt, sent it to my maid of honor with the caption, "If she wears white, bring red wine," and let it go. I should have listened to my gut, because she wasn't just getting a facial, she was preparing for war. And 2 weeks before the wedding, she dropped the truce. She came over with a gift, crying, apologizing for being difficult. She showed me a picture on her phone of a navy blue pantsuit. "This is what I'm wearing," she promised. "I want you to shine." I believed her. I let my guard down. And that was exactly what she wanted. After I found that receipt, things went from passive-aggressive to full-blown guerrilla warfare. I wanted to ban her from the planning entirely, but my husband, Dan, begged me to keep the peace. "She's just trying to be involved," he said. "If you shut her out, she'll only get worse." Spoiler alert, she got worse anyway. 3 weeks before the big day, I got a call from our venue coordinator, Sarah. Sarah sounded confused. "Hi, OP," she said. "I'm just calling to confirm the changes you made this morning." I froze. "What changes? I haven't spoken to you in a month." Sarah paused. "Oh, well, a woman called about an hour ago. She said she was you. She had your full name, your date of birth, and your booking reference number. She tried to cancel the premium open bar and switch the dinner menu to a vegan buffet." My blood ran cold. We aren't vegan. Most of our family are heavy meat eaters. If we had served a vegan buffet with a cash bar, there would have been a riot. "Did you do it?" I asked, gripping the phone. "No," Sarah said, because when I asked for the security password we set up, she hung up. Thank God for paranoia. I had set a password, pineapple, specifically because I didn't trust Martha. When I confronted Dan about his mother impersonating me, he went to her house to yell at her. He came back an hour later, looking defeated. "She said she was just trying to save us money," Dan mumbled. "She said you're spending too much of my inheritance." "We are paying for this wedding ourselves," I screamed. "I know," he said, rubbing his temples. "I know. But she's my mom. She's spiraling." The dress shopping from hell. I should have uninvited her then, but the real foreshadowing, the moment I should have known she was capable of the unthinkable, happened during my final dress fitting. Against my better judgment, I let her come. She sat in the corner of the boutique, sipping champagne and making a face like she was smelling a dirty diaper every time I stepped out. "It makes you look broad," she said about the first one. "Too slutty," she said about the second. It had long sleeves. Then, while I was in the changing room struggling with the zipper, I heard a commotion. I walked out in my robe to find the sales associates looking horrified. Martha was standing in front of the trifold mirror. She was holding a massive, sparkling white ball gown against her body. It was a size 4 sample gown. She was twirling. "Martha, what are you doing?" I asked. She looked at me, eyes wide and manic. "I just wanted to see. Doesn't it look stunning on me? I think this silhouette suits my figure much better than yours. You don't really have the hips for a ball gown, dear." She turned to the salesgirl. "Do you have this in a petite? I might just try it on, for fun." The salesgirl looked at me. I looked at Martha. "If you try that on," I said, my voice trembling with rage, "I will leave you here and you can Uber home." She dropped the dress on the floor, literally on the floor, and scoffed. "God, you're so insecure. It was a joke." That brings us back to the truce I mentioned earlier. After the dress shop incident, I told Dan I was done. I told him if she pulled one more stunt, security would ban her. He must have had a come-to-Jesus talk with her, because she flipped a switch. She became sweet. She brought me that gift. She showed me the photo of the navy blue pantsuit. She cried and said, "I just want my baby to be happy." I was so exhausted from the fighting that I wanted to believe her. I desperately wanted a normal wedding. So I accepted the truce. I thought we were in the clear. The night before the wedding, we had the rehearsal dinner. Martha was behaving. She was wearing a gray dress, a bit short, a bit low cut, but not white. I relaxed. I drank some wine. I held Dan's hand. Then came the speeches. My dad gave a lovely speech. Dan's best man gave a funny speech. Then Martha stood up. She didn't have a piece of paper. She just held her wine glass with a white knuckle grip. "Dan," she started, her voice trembling. "My Dan, my only sunshine." It wasn't a toast to the couple. It was a eulogy for her son. "I remember when you were born," she said, staring intensely at him, ignoring me completely. "You wouldn't latch with anyone but me. You needed me. For years, it was just us against the world. I was your whole world." The room got uncomfortable. Guests started shifting in their seats. "And now," she continued, her voice dropping to a dark whisper, "you're making a choice. You're choosing to build a life with someone else. And I have to accept that, even if it kills me, even if it feels like my heart is being ripped out of my chest and stomped on." She started sobbing, loud, heaving sobs. Dan had to go over and hug her. She buried her face in his neck, wailing, "Don't leave me, Danny. Don't leave Mommy." It was humiliating, but eventually she calmed down. The dinner ended. As we were leaving, she pulled me aside for a hug. She leaned in close, smelling of expensive perfume and gin. I thought she was going to apologize for the scene she caused. Instead, she gripped my shoulders tight. Her nails dug into my skin. She put her lips right against my ear so no one else could hear. "Enjoy him tonight," she whispered. Her voice was stone cold. "Play house while you can. But remember, he came from me. He belongs to me. And tomorrow, everyone is going to see exactly who the most important woman in his life is." She pulled back, smiled a sickly sweet smile, and said loudly, "Get some sleep, sweetie. Big day tomorrow." I went to bed with a pit in my stomach. I told Dan what she said. He kissed my forehead and said, "She's just drunk, babe. Ignore her. Tomorrow is about us." He was wrong. Tomorrow wasn't about us. It was about her. And I had no idea that while I was sleeping, she was steaming a Vera Wang gown she had hidden in her trunk. The morning of the wedding was eerily quiet. Too quiet.
My bridesmaids were buzzing around, popping champagne, doing my makeup, but Martha was missing. She wasn't in the bridal suite getting her hair done, which she had insisted on paying for. Her phone went straight to voicemail. Dan texted me at 10 a.m. "Have you seen Mom? She isn't answering the door at the hotel." I felt a prick of anxiety, but my maid of honor, Jessica, grabbed my phone. "Not today, Satan," she said. "If she's late, she misses the photos. We aren't stressing." I put on my dress. I felt beautiful. For a moment, I forgot about the monster-in-law. I was ready to marry my best friend. Our ceremony setup was traditional. The guests were seated. The plan was for Dan to walk down the aisle first with his mother, to seat her in the front row, then the groomsmen, then the bridesmaids, and finally me. I was hidden in the vestibule at the back of the church, watching through a crack in the doors so I wouldn't be seen. The music started. The doors opened for Dan. He looked handsome in his tux, but he looked confused. He was looking around for Martha. She was supposed to be right there to walk him in. She was nowhere to be found. Dan shrugged at the coordinator, signaling he would just walk alone. He stepped into the aisle. The ambush. Suddenly, the side door near the entrance, the one leading to the choir room, slammed open. And there she was. I gasped so loud I think I swallowed my own tongue. My maid of honor whispered, "Oh my God." Martha wasn't wearing the navy blue pantsuit. She wasn't wearing the gray cocktail dress. Martha was wearing a custom Vera Wang bridal gown. And I don't mean a simple white dress. I mean a wedding dress. It had a lace bodice, a sweetheart neckline, and a cathedral-length train that was at least 3 feet longer than mine. She was wearing a tiara, a legitimate, sparkling tiara. She looked like a demented Disney princess who had aged 40 years and lost her mind. Before Dan could react, she lunged. She didn't just walk up to him, she latched onto him. She hooked her arm through his with a grip that looked painful. The guests turned around. You could hear the collective intake of breath. It sounded like the air had been sucked out of the room. Dan tried to pull his arm away. I saw him mouth, "Mom, what the F are you doing?" She didn't let go. She smiled a terrifying, plastered-on smile and yanked him forward. She began marching him down the aisle. The photographer, bless his confused heart, started snapping photos. As they passed the guests, people weren't just whispering. They were audibly asking, Is that a wedding dress?" Martha just kept walking, waving to people with her free hand like she was the Queen of England. She leaned into Dan and said something loud enough for the people in the back rows, me included, to hear. "I'm walking you to your death, Danny. I might as well hold your hand while you throw your life away." They reached the altar. The officiant looked like he wanted to jump out a stained glass window. Normally, the mother sits down. Martha didn't sit. She turned and stood next to the groom, facing the audience, arranging her train so it pulled perfectly around her. She was literally standing in the bride's spot. That was it. The snap. I didn't wait for my music. I didn't wait for the bridesmaids. I kicked open the vestibule doors. "Cut the music!" I screamed. The string quartet screeched to a halt. The church went dead silent. I marched down that aisle alone. I wasn't walking. I was stomping. I didn't look at the guests. I looked straight at her. When I got to the front, I didn't take my place next to Dan. I walked right up to the officiant and snatched the microphone out of his hand. The feedback screeched, making everyone wince. "Security," I said into the mic, my voice booming through the church. "Please get ready." Martha looked at me, feigning innocence. "OP, why are you interrupting the ceremony? You look flushed." I turned to the 200 guests. "Everyone," I said, my voice shaking with adrenaline. "I know you're all wondering why my mother-in-law is wearing a wedding dress that costs more than my car." Martha stiffened. "It's an evening gown," she shrieked. "It's ivory."
"It has a veil attached to the back, Martha," I yelled into the mic. "You are wearing a veil." I turned back to the crowd. "But here is what you don't know. You think she's just a crazy, over-attached mother. But she isn't here because she loves her son. She's here because she owes him money." A gasp rippled through the crowd. Dan looked at me, shocked that I was going there. I was going there. "That's right," I continued, pointing a finger at her. "She borrowed $50,000 from Dan's inheritance to fund her gambling addiction. She knows that once we are married, I'm looking at the finances. She isn't trying to stop this wedding because she loves him. She's trying to stop it so she doesn't lose her cash cow." Martha's face went from smug to purple. "You lying little bitch," she screamed. "And," I kept going, "for anyone wondering why she's obsessed with him, last night at the rehearsal dinner, she told me, and I quote, 'He came from me. He belongs to me.' She has tried to replace me since day one. Well, Martha, look around." I gestured to the horrified guests. "You aren't the bride. You are a sad, lonely old woman in a costume. You look like mutton dressed as lamb, and you are done." I turned to the back of the room. "Get this trash out of my venue, now." I had hired 2 large security guards specifically for this scenario, though I prayed I wouldn't need them. They started walking down the aisle. Martha realized what was happening. She didn't go quietly. She went feral. She grabbed Dan's arm again. "Danny, don't let her do this. I'm your mother. She's humiliating me." Dan looked at me. He looked at his mother, in her white dress, foaming at the mouth. The fog finally lifted. He peeled her fingers off his arm, one by one. "You humiliated yourself, Mom," he said. His voice was quiet, but with the microphone near us, everyone heard it. "Go, before I call the police." She let out a scream that sounded like a banshee. As the security guards grabbed her arms, she thrashed. She reached out and grabbed a massive floral arrangement on a pedestal next to the altar. Crash. She pulled the whole thing down. Water, glass, and lilies went everywhere. "I curse this marriage!" she screamed as they dragged her backward down the aisle, her heels dragging on the carpet, her tiara sliding off her head. "It will never last! He loves me! He loves me!"
The doors slammed shut behind her. The silence in the church was heavy. You could hear a pin drop. I looked at Dan. He looked like he had just survived a war. He looked down at the broken glass, then up at me. I raised the microphone one last time. "So," I said, smoothing my dress, "does anyone object? Or can we get married now?" The entire room erupted in applause. You might think that having a family member dragged out of your wedding by security would ruin the vibe. Honestly, it was the best icebreaker in history. Once the doors closed behind Martha, the tension vanished. The officiant, who was sweating bullets, cracked a joke. Well, speak now or forever hold your peace has never been taken quite so literally. We got through the vows. We kissed. And when we walked back up the aisle together, just the two of us, no Martha attached, the cheering was deafening. The reception was a victory lap. The DJ played Hit the Road Jack as the entrance song. His idea, not mine, but I tipped him $100 for it. Everyone was talking about it. The photos of her being dragged out, clutching a fistful of hydrangeas, were already circulating in the family group chats.
But the real drama didn't end when the music stopped. Martha wasn't done. That night in the hotel, Dan finally broke down. He cried. He apologized over and over again. He told me, "I didn't see it. I really thought she was just lonely. But looking at her in that dress, she looked like a monster." He took out his phone. He had 47 missed calls from her, 12 voicemails. He didn't listen to a single one. He looked at me and said, "I'm done." He blocked her number. Then he blocked her on Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. It was the first time in his life he had ever completely cut her off. I finally felt like I was married to a man, not a son. We went home the next morning to grab our luggage before heading to the airport for our honeymoon. We pulled into the driveway at 9 a.m., and there she was. She was sitting on our front porch steps. She was still wearing the wedding dress. It was stained with grass and dirt from where security had dropped her outside. Her mascara was smeared down her face. She looked like a haunted doll. When she saw Dan's car, she jumped up. "Danny!" she screamed, running toward the car. "Danny, you have to listen to me. She brainwashed you."
Dan didn't unlock the doors. He just stared at her through the glass. "Go away, Mom," he yelled through the closed window. "I won't go," she shrieked. "I'm your mother. I carried you for 9 months. You owe me." She started pounding on the hood of the car. I was reaching for my phone to call 911, but she escalated before I could even dial. She ran over to the flower bed, grabbed a decorative river rock, one of those heavy, smooth stones, and hurled it. She was aiming for our windshield, but Martha has terrible aim, and in her blind rage, she missed our car entirely. The rock sailed past us and smashed through the bay window of our next-door neighbor, Mr. Henderson. Mr. Henderson is a 70-year-old retired Marine who hates noise and loves his pristine lawn. He came storming out of his house with a baseball bat. Martha was screaming, "Look what you made me do, Danny!" The police arrived 5 minutes later. Watching my mother-in-law get handcuffed in a dirty Vera Wang wedding dress on a Sunday morning while my neighbor screamed at her about his window was quite possibly more satisfying than the wedding itself. She was charged with destruction of property, trespassing, and disturbing the peace. Because she was screaming threats at me while they put her in the cruiser, they tacked on a harassment charge for good measure. While we were at the airport waiting for our flight, Dan got a call from an unknown number. It was his dad. We hadn't heard much from his dad during the wedding planning. He was a quiet man, always beaten down by Martha's personality. "Dan," his dad said, "I saw the video. Your cousin sent it to me." "I'm sorry, Dad," Dan said. "Don't be," his dad replied. His voice sounded different, stronger. "I checked the accounts, Dan. You were right. She took the money. She forged my signature on a withdrawal slip 3 months ago. She lost it all at the casino." There was a pause. "I moved out this morning," his dad said. "I've frozen the joint assets. I'm filing for divorce on Monday. She's not your problem anymore, son. She's a lawyer's problem." Dan hung up the phone and just stared at the wall. "She lost everything," he whispered. her marriage, her son, her money. All because she couldn't let go. We are currently on our honeymoon in Italy. It is blissfully quiet. Yesterday, I received an email from a lawyer representing Martha. Apparently, she has bailed out of jail and is trying to sue me for defamation of character regarding the speech I made at the church and emotional distress for having her removed. She wants a public apology and $50,000 in damages. I showed the email to Dan. He laughed so hard he choked on his espresso. We replied with a single attachment, the video of her throwing a rock through the neighbor's window and a screenshot of the text messages where she admitted to buying the dress to show everyone who he belongs to. We haven't heard back from the lawyer.